So especially with the historic U.S. default on the debt ceiling and Janet Yellen seemingly telegraphing that her extraordinary measures are not going to make it to the finish line. Hey, I'm not in Congress. I've never been in the Treasury, but let's hear what retired Lieutenant General Michael Flynn had to say. Here he was on Greg Hunter's fantastic USA Watchdog on September 11th, interestingly enough. And he had a comment about the debt ceiling, how that process works. And I thought that might be helpful for you to see, especially with what you're about to see in the next couple of weeks.
I want to go to this letter, and I think I showed this to you, and I read it to you.
Yeah.
Just to, this is from the Department of Treasury. There's so people see it. So this is Janet Yellen. She's the Treasury Secretary, and she basically, and I'll give you the Cliff Notes. She basically wrote Nancy Pelosi and said, after the debt limit was reinstated August 1st, the Treasury began employing certain extraordinary measures to continue to finance the government on a temporary basis. That's the key line. And then it says that any delay in the debt ceiling and figuring out what you're going to do, any delay that calls into question the federal government's ability to meet its obligations would likely cause irreparable damage to the financial markets. She is telling them that she's sometime in October, the federal government.
So let me talk to this, because this is really very important. And these kinds of letters like that, particularly that letter at this time, it's not that they're unusual for the executive branch of government to talk to the legislative branch of government, which is essentially the Department of Treasury sending a note over to the Speaker of the House, which is really the Speaker of the House position, so everybody knows, is the one that actually does hold the purse strings and controls the purse strings. As powerful as the President of the Senate is, it's not as powerful as the Speaker of the House, and that's why it's the third in line to the presidency. So that particular letter is very telling, because the U.S. government runs on a fiscal year from October 1st to September 30th. So if we don't have a continuing resolution in place by the Congress working with the White House on the 1st of October, then we could experience a financial collapse. So here's my analysis of this, instead of getting into the process. My analysis of this is that, for your audience, is that this is where because I'm very concerned that a financial collapse that is managed somewhat, or a manageable financial collapse by this government, and I'm talking about by the executive branch, by the White House, along with their cohorts in Congress, meaning Nancy Pelosi, Speaker Pelosi, that they actually could threaten a financial collapse, or there could be indications of a financial collapse that with this country, meaning that, running the banks and all the kinds of things that you would have, vis-a-vis sort of 2008 time frame. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to pay very close attention now for these next couple of weeks about the conversations about whether or not the executive branch and the legislative branch, meaning the White House and the Speaker of the House, talk to each other about a continuing resolution in order to continue to pay the United States government's bills, because the United States government has a lot of bills that they have to pay. All kinds of bills that they got to pay, and it's to the tune of multiples of billions of dollars. It's not just a couple of $100 million; it's multiples of billions. It's tens and tens of billions of dollars on a monthly basis that the U.S. government has to pay out. So that's why we have so much debt. So that letter is a very, very concerning letter from my standpoint, as a guy who served at the highest levels of our government and paid very close attention to things called continuing resolutions. So what those in your audience that want to pay attention to this, look for the discussion about continuing resolutions, CRs, that come out of Congress or come out of the White House. And I think if anybody in the media has, particularly those that are talking in the White House, to the spokesperson for the White House on a daily basis, the media room there, somebody ought to be asking about that letter. Somebody ought to ask Psaki, about that particular letter. What does it mean? Does it mean that the government's going to go broke? Does it mean we're going to have a financial collapse of our economy? If we have something to the tune of 2008 between the Bush and the Obama administration, we're going to be in big doo-doo here, Greg, and it's not a healthy place for the United States to be, because we already have skyrocketing debt. This administration, so Barack Obama in 8 years doubled our debt from 10 trillion, which is what he was given, to 20 trillion, which is what he left Trump. And then Trump basically regained about $1.5 trillion back. And now this administration in about 9 months, the Biden administration in about 9 months has upped it again by about 5 to 6 trillion in just 9 months. So we're looking at a financial system right now that is so wobbly, and a U.S. financial system that is so wobbly, and that letter causes me a little bit of concern. And now I'm going to be paying very close attention to the discussions between the legislative branch, Pelosi's office, and the executive branch, primarily the White House, about the financial system that we are under, because they could use this as additional noise to continue to beat over the psyche of the American people, to say, listen, we got things under control. Don't worry about all this other stuff. Quit worrying about COVID, quit worrying about vaccines, quit worrying about election integrity, quit worrying about our foreign policy.
Well, certainly some interesting comments there, especially with Gavin Newsom, a Democratic Nancy Pelosi friend, in the process of being in the middle of a vote on September 14th, which could shake things up. Then you have the September 15th date that Janet Yellen mentioned in that letter, which I'm going to take a guess here, but I suspect might be when when the Treasury will run out of money, should they not bully some sort of proposal, which it seems like they will not be able to do if they cannot bully that into action. So thank you, General Flynn, for what you've done and that explanation. And before we wrap up, why don't you take a listen to what the general, see if he's a advocate of getting a banking account at your local JP Morgan Chase.
They did cancel your credit card. I guess that means you're over the target, because you're going around the country talking about what you're talking here. Is that right? Is that how you read that? You're a threat to them.
Yeah. Why would Chase Bank pick on Mike Flynn? And then their part of their excuse, part of their they tried to apologize, which I don't accept. I forgive, but I don't accept their apology. But part of their apology was, well, Flynn is a common name. That's, we're sorry that Flynn is a common name. It was an oversight on our part. Baloney. I mean, come on. Are they kidding me? So they just so happened to pick me and my wife and my family. And I know what, like my mom used to teach us as kids, sticks and stones can break our bones, but names will never hurt us. So, to have my name dragged through the media, a little bit, and to have them to tell me that I represent, my family and I represent reputational risk to a couple of accounts. You know how easy it was to switch to a bank that actually appreciates? And you're talking to, somebody who's never, even the FBI, after 4.5 years of digging into my life, couldn't find an unpaid parking ticket. So, it's not because I didn't pay my accounts, or it's not because I didn't, I think I had those accounts. I don't know how many, a couple of decades actually.
Wow.
And all they reminded me was why I had those accounts with Chase. And I'm glad I dumped them.
And maybe Catherine Austin Fitz says the same thing. Stop doing business with these people.
So thanks to General Flynn and Greg Hunter. Go check out the whole interview on usawatchdog.com, and we'll see you back here again soon.